huge heads up. The Digital Course Academy is closing September 26th. This is the course that changed my life and taught me virtually everything I know about online courses, how to create them, how to launch them, and how to help people get results with them. When you join Amy Porterfield's Digital Course Academy, you'll get everything you need to turn your expertise into a profitable online course from idea to launch. You'll gain the confidence to build a business that gives you more time, more freedom, and more impact, all while helping others with what you know and love. Visit jennakutcher.com/DCA before it's too late. I believe in this course so much, I partnered up with Amy to ensure a fast route to success for you. When you enroll in the Digital Course Academy before the doors close, you'll also get my strategically built implementation suite of bonuses that's worth nearly $2,000, yours for free. Seriously, you do not want to miss this. This course won't be available again until next year, which means a heck of a lot of time between you and your online course dreams. As someone whose life has changed when she started teaching and creating digital courses, I personally cannot wait to help you get there too. Enroll now at jennakutcher.com/DCA before the doors close on September 26th. That's jennakutcher.com/DCA.
I am a firm believer that you do not need a huge audience in order to create and launch a successful course, whether it be a workshop course or a more robust course, which is, of course, what I teach in my programs as well.
I'm Jenna Kutcher, your host of the Goal Digger podcast. I escaped the corporate world at the age of 23 with nothing more than a $300 camera from Craigslist and a dream. Now I'm running a 7-figure online business that feels even better than it looks, all from my house in small town Minnesota with my family. Here, we value time as our currency. We mix the woo and the work, and we are in the pursuit of building businesses that give us the freedom to live lives that we love. I've always loved turning big goals into reality, and I'm here to help you do the same. This isn't just a peek behind the curtain. Come along with me and my guests as we tear the whole curtain down. Every week, we tackle practical, no-fluff marketing strategies and host honest discussions on what works and what doesn't. Join me and my expert guests for actionable insights to help you grow your dream business with confidence. Pull up a seat and get ready to be challenged, inspired, and empowered. This is the Goal Digger Podcast. One of my favorite things to do as an entrepreneur is to really reflect on the people, the decisions, and the courses that have changed the trajectory of my business and my life. And often when I think about that, there is one clear winner of a person who has absolutely transformed my life and business. And that is my now best friend, Amy Porterfield. We weren't always best friends, and we've told the story many times on the show, but I was a student of hers first, a listener of her free podcast. And my life truly has never been the same. I often joke to people now that she is basically like the COO of my business, and I'm that for her because we are so deeply integrated into each other's lives through 7-minute long voice messages on a daily basis. And it is such a blessing because I think entrepreneurship can be so lonely. It can feel like an individual sport, and it's not meant to be that way. And so recently we were together in Nashville, and I had to laugh because she pulled up her phone, and right next to her husband's photo in her pinned text messages was mine. And the same goes for me on my phone. Right next to Drew is Amy. And we are a staple in each other's lives. Like, we do life together and we also do business together. And it is such a joy to be able to have someone who I consider a mentor now to be such a dear friend. So I feel like she needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce you to my beautiful, sweet, amazing, intelligent friend, Amy Porterfield. Now, Amy is the brilliant mind behind the Digital Course Academy. It's a program that is designed to help entrepreneurs turn their knowledge into profitable online courses. She is basically who taught me everything. And if you've ever considered creating your own online course, you're probably overwhelmed with all of the steps of how to get started and how to do it. If that's you, then this conversation is going to show you that starting small can be a lot less work and be the perfect way for you to get started. And maybe you're thinking, start small. Jenna, online courses are anything but small. Well, not anymore. Amy is sharing the perfect solution today for anyone looking to start their course creation journey. We're talking about how a 1-hour workshop course can be the perfect launchpad for you. Now, inside today's episode, we've never talked about this anywhere. We are diving into why this seemingly modest step is actually an entire game changer for new course creators, how to prepare your first workshop, and how this approach can set the stage for creating more extensive and successful online courses for your future. Get ready to be inspired and equipped with practical tips to turn your ideas into reality. And really quick before we dive in, Amy does a free masterclass experience once a year. I am a proud partner of all the things she does. This is an entirely free training where she shares her course creation and launching playbook. There is zero gatekeeping involved here. You do not want to miss this. Years ago, I attended one of Amy's free trainings, and I can tell you that my life has never been the same since. So save your seat for Amy's masterclass experience. You can go to jennaplusamy.com. That's Jenna, Plus Amy.com. I've also linked it for you in the show notes and description. Do not miss this masterclass experience. She does it once a year. And if you are curious about online courses, which I know you're going to be after you listen to this episode, save your seat at jennaplusamy.com. All right, without further ado, let's dive on in. Super quick question. How many tabs do you have open right now? Like, actually go to your browser and check. If you have ADHD like me, it's a lot. And when you throw a business into the mix, it's even more. You might have a tab for your email marketing system, one for your payment software, one for your CRM, content tools, email tools. And with all those tabs, you're spending more time searching through data and less time, growing your business. But with HubSpot's customer platform, you can close all those tabs and access all your tools in one convenient place. With HubSpot, you'll get everyone's eyes on the same work, boost data analysis with AI, optimize workflows for marketing, improve pipeline management for sales, and keep track of every customer question, big or small. So close those tabs. It's business growing time. Visit HubSpot.com to get started today. That's HubSpot.com. Okay, we are back. And I say we because this is like basically my co-host to the show at this point. Amy Porterfield, welcome back to the Goal Digger Podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, my friend. I love when we get to talk all things digital courses and business and all of that. So we do it anyway when we're not on camera. So it's extra fun when we do it on camera.
It's true. And it's so fun because we get to get really creative of like, what haven't you heard yet? And there is this idea that Amy was telling me, and I was like, hold it. Don't say another thing. We need to just hit record. And so let's dive right on in. And I want to talk about this exciting concept that you have about using a 1-hour workshop course to kickstart a course creation journey. So you are the queen of creating digital courses. You have a signature program, the Digital Course Academy, thousands of students, thousands of success stories. But this is a new idea. So what the heck is a 1-hour workshop course? And why is it such a game changer?
Okay, this is something that I've added to my bigger program because a lot of people that come into my world, they want to create a digital course. They see the benefit and the value of a course. They know that it could create more freedom for them and it could work really well in their existing business or to kick off a new business. So they're already sold on the idea. However, the thought of a big signature course is very overwhelming. And at the time that my students come into my world, some of them don't have an email list yet, or they're starting to work on it, and they're just not fully ready to go all in. And so to help those students, I now teach them how to create a 1-hour workshop course, which is this. Essentially, let's say you want to create a big course down the road to teach people how to land their dream job. So everything you know about how to land the dream job. And that's a big signature course. But if you want to just dip your toe in the course world first, you could create a 1-hour workshop course teaching how to nail the perfect resume. So you'll take one concept that you'll likely put in your bigger course, one concept, and you'll flesh it out in a 1-hour live workshop. Now, you charge for this workshop. So for a week, you could promote it on social, maybe to your small or big email list. You can send it to people that you think would be perfect for it. grassroots if you want, but you're going to sell it. Between $100 and $300 is usually the sweet spot for a 1-hour workshop course. You could charge a little bit more if you create a little workbook for it or you do a live Q&A at the end. So you could play around with the price there, but you sell it, you deliver it live, you record it, and now you can give the recording to whoever purchases it. But now you have a recording that you can use on Evergreen as well. And this is like your first step into courses. The goal is to get you to create your signature course and make more money and more impact. But I love baby steps. This gets you into action. Action creates clarity. Clarity gets you results.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I love this for a million reasons. One, I think you're right. I think a lot of people are experts in something and they have this idea in the back of their mind of like, whoa, like, could I really create a digital course? So one, this allows you to test the waters without wasting a ton of time on an idea or a topic that might not resonate yet with your audience, right? So you get to create something that's a bit more contained, a bit more specific, and you get to kind of see, are people responding? Are they willing to actually invest in this? Because you and I have both seen where people have this idea and they spend so much time behind the scenes creating it. And then they haven't done the work to really make sure that their audience, one, knows that they're the expert, and two, is willing to invest their money. So I love this for that reason. Second, I think that it really helps get you into action so much faster. A lot of times when I talk to people who want to create a course, they get so tied up in like, well, what should module 1 be? And then 3 be? And like, what do I do? And so I love that this is like basically taking one section out of what could become your signature course and just dialing it in and going deep on it. And I think that having those parameters and those boundaries can help people find success a lot faster, but also have that clarity that they're desiring to make that step.
Absolutely. You kind of hit on every single point why a workshop course might be the perfect first step for somebody to get going with courses.
I love it. Okay. So do you have any success stories of people who have started with this method? Because to me, it's kind of a no-brainer and it does feel a lot more approachable, especially for someone who is just entering this space.
Okay, I'm so glad you asked because I've been dying to tell this story. I haven't told the story anywhere else yet, so I'm excited to share it here. So I have a student, her name is Masha Goins, and she's been working with me for a while. And when she first started working with me, she was a very busy mom in a 9-to-5 job. So she's got kids at home and she's got a 9-to-5 job. The challenge is she hated her job. She hated going into work. She didn't like the work she was doing. She wanted more freedom and balance, which is what a lot of my students who come into my world are looking for. So she joined my program to learn how to create a signature course. But what happened was right around that time, COVID hit. And kind of the world shut down, everything changed and perspectives changed. And she thought, you know what? I want to create a big course, but I need a quick cash injection. I need something to work right now. Her whole world was rattled. And so instead of creating her signature course, she said, I'm going to put that on hold for a minute. I'm going to create a workshop course. So what she did is she put together this workshop course and she put it together really quickly. And she teaches moms how to use Instagram to build a business. And so she took one area of her expertise on Instagram and she taught it in a workshop course. And so she put it out to her audience, small email list, her social media that she had just started not that long ago. She made $3,000 with her workshop course, which was a huge validation moment for her. She thought, okay, I've attracted the right audience. This is what they're interested in. And then she realized through her workshop course, she got to learn more about the moms who were signing up. And she decided, okay, this is great. I know what they want next. So she created a program called the Mom to Momfluencer. And so helping moms become influencers online using Instagram. This was her expertise. She created the bigger course after her workshop course, made $10,000. She launched the same course again, made $25,000. And her list began to grow. So it started really small, then it got bigger with each launch. So here's what I want to say about this. She started with a workshop course. Within 18 months, she built a bigger course, launched it several times. She's made $400,000 in the last 18 months with her courses. So The reason I tell this story is to say she started from scratch with a tiny email list and a little workshop course, got validation, feedback, got right into creating her signature course because she had more confidence. And now she's gone on to build the bigger courses. And that's the goal. I want everyone listening, if you start with a workshop course, which is now something I teach in my bigger program, I want you to then move into creating a signature course that can make you more money, giving you more freedom and impact. But I love starting in a really easy, sustainable way.
One of the things that I love about this story so much is taking that action. And I think that a lot of people desire the outcome, but they're not willing to take the action.
Yeah.
And what I love about this story too is that she was actively growing her audience with each launch. And I think a lot of times people get stuck of like, I need to build the audience first and then I launch. But one thing that we often forget is that people are watching us. And even if they don't buy right now, they might be saving up for buying down the line. Or the next time it comes around, it might be a more aligned time in their life. Or you might be a more aligned teacher. Or you might have a more aligned offer. And so with every launch, the people who buy, that's incredible. What a gift. But the people who don't buy are so valuable. And that's where I think too, I love the way that you teach is because I am sure that she was serving these people throughout the entirety of the ecosystem of the business she was building so that if they didn't buy the first time, they were still getting value and results. Therefore, it's like, I always think of you saying this, like, if she can do this for free, imagine what would happen if I paid her. That's exactly what you teach. So I absolutely love that story.
Yeah, it's a good one. It makes me really excited for what's possible. And I think a lot of us, we need those baby steps. We need to get into action, but not take a huge step because it's overwhelming. So for those that need it, you've got another option.
Yeah, it does remind me too, when COVID hit and everyone was panicking, we were creating like this small business survival guide. And it was just going back to some of the basics of business. It wasn't a full-blown course. It wasn't a full-blown offer, but it was just a reminder to business owners of like, here are the principles that you can rely on when times get tough. Here are things you should be considering. We packaged it up. It was like a $50 offer, but it flew like hotcakes because it was serving an immediate need that people had. And it also wasn't challenging them to take a lot of time. And one of the reasons why I love these workshop style courses is that most people have a hard time investing in tons and tons of hours, right? Most people can sit down and watch Netflix for an hour, so they can also learn a new skill or a new strategy for an hour. Like that is not a huge ask of people's time. And so I think this is brilliant and I love it. I love it. So you were talking about how sometimes people get really intimidated to take a big step. And I agree. I think we've both seen it over the years. One of the biggest obstacles that our audience faces is the fear of making the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Sometimes that indecisiveness is what holds them back from making any decision at all. Like they won't even make a decision because they're afraid of making the wrong one. How would you tackle that mindset with your students?
Okay. So earlier, I love this question, Jenna, because earlier I said, action creates clarity. I think I first heard that from Marie Forleo many, many years ago, and I always remembered it, meaning you will not know what you need to know unless you get in there and do it. And sometimes when you get in there and do it, you learn that it's not really what you want to do and you want to change. You'd never know if you didn't get into action. So along the way, I learned this concept of no wrong turns. And what it means is that if you decide to do something, let's say you decide to create your first workshop course and you get into action, and let's just say worst case scenario, it did not work. I look at that as no wrong turns, meaning you got on the field, you took action, you tried to make it work, and you realized, wait, maybe this offer isn't what my audience wants. But they start giving you feedback about what they really need. You survey them. Hey, I noticed you didn't jump on this opportunity. What do you need instead? And all of a sudden you're getting these new ideas, putting you in a new direction. So I really live my life and operate my business by this idea that there are no wrong turns. As long as I'm making decisions, taking action, the next action will lead me to where I want to go. And it's this concept that everything you do is going to eventually lead you to where you need to go. And so we don't look at them as failures. We look at them as lessons. It might be a mindset shift, but there's something very concrete about this concept that you actually are getting into the action and doing the work to get the information you need to make the next move that will move you closer to your results. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh. It makes so much sense. I'm going to tell a personal story here because this just reminds me, but I recently joined the rowing club, which you know all about.
Yes.
And we had to do this learn to row class. And I am expecting that like we're going to be sitting in a building watching videos about rowing and
Absolutely.
learning about like what is the bow and what is the stern and all these things. No, night one, they tossed us into a boat. We've never even held an oar. But the whole premise was like, you will learn by doing. You can watch other people do things for days and days on end. But until you actually step foot into a boat or into the arena or into the digital course world, you will not know what it feels like, what it looks like, how to navigate it. And so I just thought that was such a great metaphor of like, you're just getting in a boat. Like we aren't even teaching you the terminology. You're getting in and you're going to learn. And I can tell you, we learned so much faster by being willing to step into that. So I love no wrong turns. Has there ever been moments in your digital course days where you thought you may have taken a wrong turn and you had to readjust your mindset to express it wasn't?
Absolutely. So a while back, this has been a long time ago, but it still stays with me. I launched a course all about how to put together a Facebook marketing plan. This was when I only taught Facebook. And I put it out, and I think at the time I charged a few $100s for it, and it sold really well. But then the next time I launched it, I added some extra features to it, and I increased the price. I thought, okay, I'm going to increase the price to $9.97. So I increased the price to $9.97. However, I did not have the confidence to put that price out there. I doubted myself. I thought it was too expensive. I was in my head, and I did my first webinar and no one purchased at $9.97. And then I did another webinar. No one purchased. And I realized, I think I got this wrong. Either it's my confidence or this offer just isn't right at that price. And so the next time I launched it, I took the price down a little bit, not to the first price, but not as high as $9.97. I readjusted the course. Boom. It was perfect. And I had a really great launch, but I had to figure out that $9.97. One thing I learned is if you don't believe you can do it, if you don't work on your mindset before you sell a course, you probably won't be able to do it. And it was all a mindset shift that I needed. But at the time, I thought it maybe was the offer. Looking back with my experience now, it was just me learning to step up to what I think I should charge. But that was such a learning throughout the whole thing. And another learning was letting go of my ego and saying, I'm going to adjust that price next time. Not making it all about like, no, I could never go back. You can. There's so many pivots you can make with digital courses and launching that I was able to land on the perfect price.
I love that. I'm trying to think of some of the wrong turns I made. I remember the first course I ever offered. It was called the Jenna Kutcher course. It's very,
I love it.
I even had a mug with a logo that I made in Microsoft Word on it. And I remember I offered 3 one-on-one calls for every student that joined. And I can now very clearly say that was not a wrong turn. But when I was in the space of delivering, because I had 25 students that signed up. And so that's 75 phone calls. Wow. I don't even like being on the phone. Say,
I know you very well. That is not what you want to be doing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. And so I remember walking our cul-de-sac where we lived over and over and over again on the phone. I mean, I got a lot of steps in, but being on those phone calls, and I loved the students and I loved the people. Here's why it wasn't a wrong turn, but it also established like, this is not what I want to be a part of the offer ongoing, is that I got to hear people's questions. I got to hear their needs and their desires. I got to watch them have the light bulb moments. And I wouldn't have had that if I wouldn't have had that model at the beginning. But I very quickly learned, okay, moving forward, I would rather charge less money and not have this tax on my time. And so again, it's one of those things where you got to reframe, right? Because at the time I was like, why did I promise this? This is not what I wanted. But I can now see, and I can still remember some of those students and what they were going through and what transitions they were making and how this was helping. And so it was one of those things where it was just, okay, this can work for now, but we're not going to do this again. And I think that that is so much of what business is.
Absolutely. I love that you're like, I'm going to get my lessons out of this and I'm not going to do this again. That's okay. But you would have never known that if you didn't do it. So there's such a theme in this episode. You have to get on the field. You have to get into action. You can't just keep watching all the master classes and watching things and not taking action afterwards. That's what's going to get you the results.
Yes. Okay. You have this idea of first step transformation.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about it because I think it fits beautifully into this idea of a 1-hour workshop course. So let's talk about what that is.
Okay. So when I say first step transformation, what I'm talking about is what is the first step your community, your potential student would need to take before they got the big results that you will eventually put, let's say, in a signature course. Yep. And so that example I gave earlier is a perfect example for this. I want to teach people how to land their dream job. What's one of the first things they need to do? They need to get that resume right. If they don't get that resume right, they're not even going to get looked at or through the door to get the interview. And once they get the interview, I could teach all of that. Once they get into negotiation, I could teach all that. But the first step would be that resume. And so that's what you would want to teach in a workshop course. So for those of you listening, think for a moment of a bigger course maybe you could create. Take all the judgment out. Don't let yourself say, no, that won't work because this or that. Just dream big. What's a course that you could create, maybe sell for $1,000? And think about 20 people buy, you just made $20,000. 20 people, that's all you would need. So I just want to put that in perspective, a little course math. But let's just think about that course, the big course. All right, get it in your head, think about it. And now I want you to think about what's the first step they would need to take in order to get the results that my course will offer? What's the first step they need to take? And if you start kind of mulling that over and thinking about, well, if they did this first, this would be great. Or maybe it's this. That's the kind of conversation I want you to have in your head. When you get that idea, that is your workshop course. That's where you can start. So this first step transformation is the first step for your student to take before they go for the big steps.
I love this too, because you're basically priming people to be ready for the next step, right?
Yes.
If they haven't taken the first step, they're likely not going to be ready to take the next step. And they're likely delaying taking any steps until this first one is done. So you're kind of crossing things off of their checklist, but also priming them to be in a position to make the next step, which I absolutely love. I also think there is something so huge for all of us as human beings that when we see that we are capable of following through on something, it builds up that momentum that is like unstoppable. And so with the 1-hour idea, again, you're not asking for a huge time commitment from your audience. You're likely teaching them that something that can be completed relatively quickly. And therefore they are going to get that like dopamine boost of like, oh my gosh, I did this. This works. Like, I can't believe I did this. What's next? And so there's just so much to this. And you know, you and I have talked about this a lot because we've seen a lot in the online course world. And I think there are time and places for every single type of digital course out there. But one of the things that I've seen is this more shift to simplicity and making things easier. Like, we want to make it the easiest path to success. We're going to include every step you need to be successful in whatever that end result is. But gone are the days where it felt really juicy to say, I have an 180 module program and a 200 page workbook. And so what I love about this is like, this is the fastest route to success for somebody. And you're getting them that first quick win, which means they're going to be ready for the next step. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. It just kickstarts you getting into action and kickstarts your audience to start moving down the right road to eventually something bigger that you want to create. And while you were talking, I was thinking this also allows you. So let's say you take that first step transformation, put it into a workshop course. It allows you to attract a course aligned audience,
Yes.
meaning people that eventually are the right fit for your bigger course. Because a lot of people come into my world just getting started with courses and they don't have an audience yet that is perfect for their signature course. And so they start to really stress out, like, who am I going to sell to? But if you allow yourself to do a workshop course first and then move to the bigger course, you're building an audience. When you're selling it, when you're getting people interested in it, you're building the right audience right from the get-go.
So my brain is like going in a few different directions, and you can tell me if you would do this, but if I were brand new, I would start with step 1, right? And I would do a 1-hour workshop and I would sell it. And if I were just getting started, I think I may be a little hesitant. So I'd probably charge like $50. But let's say you had 20 people that signed up. That's a chunk of change. So then I would either like the next week do what would become module 2 and try to get the people on the first one onto the next one and have them trail along. And you could basically build out your signature course week by week, either with the same group of people or with new groups of people who are interested in whatever that topic is. Because when I even think about the first course that I built, we talked about specific topics. So it was really for marketing for photographers is what it was, but it was branding and then pricing and then communication and then delivery. And people could benefit from each section of the course. And so I don't know, what would you do something like that? Or would you say this is probably not the best idea?
I mean, I never have thought of it that way. And again, no wrong turns. Yeah. I think that could absolutely work. One thing you want to think about is, let's say you did that and you built it out to 6 modules, which would be 6 workshop courses. One of the beautiful things about that is at the end, now you have a full course that I would re-record it. I'd put it into a signature course. I'd probably tweak it to make it make sense and the flow is really good. But now you've got this full course. That's a plus. The only thing that might be a negative is the people that you might want to pay the bigger price for the signature course. They're likely not going to be interested because if they got all 6, but not everyone would likely even buy all 6. And you could give them a discount if they've already been in one of your workshop courses. So Jenna, you might have just created one more thing that I could teach in Digital Course Academy because it could work.
I know. And I think too, it's like when you look at the beginning, you usually have that beta audience of people who have already been kind of noticing, like, you are a genius in this. Maybe you don't see it yet, but I see this in you. And so usually it's like that small group of people who are like along for the ride and excited. Yeah. I don't know. I kind of love it.
Jenna always has good ideas. Just for the record, everyone, she's my favorite friend that like on the spot could come up with so many good ideas. So I think it's a good one.
Am like a digital course savant. Like if somebody were to come to me and be like, okay, here's what I do. Here's what I like to do in my free time. And you can scroll my camera roll for 2 minutes. What would I create a digital course on? I could give you ideas. I love doing it because I can think of so many people in my life who have digital courses inside of them. And it feels like such a disservice to the world to not be able to harness the power of the gifts they have. Like there are just so many. I mean, every person in my family, I'm like, you have a digital course in you. You have like 10 digital courses in you. And I just see that in people because I have seen how success can multiply, how impact can multiply, how strategy can multiply. And like the thing that I just will never get tired of with digital courses is that you get to teach somebody something once and they get to reap the rewards of it over and over and over again for the rest of their days. And so when I look at it, it's just like so exciting to me that somebody gets to take a moment and invest in themselves and, as Tony Robbins says, turn decades into days.
Yes.
And I just think that that will never get tiresome to me because we've seen it happen time and time again. I mean, I am living proof of this when it comes to what Amy Porterfield teaches. It was actually really funny. We were just together in Tennessee at a mastermind. And I was telling someone, I was like, oh, Amy Porterfield's my best friend, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, oh, how did you guys connect? Did you connect at like a mastermind like this? And I was like, well, funny story, but I was a student of hers and I was dead set on being the best student she's ever had. I wanted your attention. I wanted you to notice. And you did. Yeah. And what's just so funny is like looking back at that is like you have given me so many strategies, tools, ideas that I have been able to compound in my life and in my business. And I think people don't think about that enough. They look at the expense, whether it's time or money, but they don't recognize that like I get this one time and now I get to make this work for me over and over and over again. But it was just cute because they were like, oh, how do you guys know each other? I was like, well, we go back a long
I
way.
forget that that's how our love affair started, but I love that story.
Isn't it so funny?
Yeah.
Okay. We're winding down, but I want to know this because my team and I were talking, and it's really easy for you and I to talk about the success we've had with digital courses because we have massive audiences. A lot of people think that they have to have that audience. We said this earlier. A lot of people believe like, I'll build the audience first and then I'll learn this or then I'll do this. How does focusing on the right people change this perspective? And like, how can people literally get started no matter what size audience they have today?
Okay, so I am a firm believer that you do not need a huge audience in order to create and launch a successful course, whether it be a workshop course or a more robust course, which is, of course, what I teach in my programs as well. You do not. I could tell you story after story. I have tons of them, but Rob Green always comes up because he was a photographer, so it's perfect from your start, Jenna. But during COVID, he created his very first course, How to Use Flash Photography and Make It Look Like Natural Light. That was his course. That's all it was, one very specific topic. He had 100 people on his list and made $12,000. He is proof that you do not need a big list. I could rattle off more and more stories like that. But what I want you really to know is that when you get into action, when you start to launch, when you start to put offers out there, you will start to grow your list. You have something valuable to offer. People start to pay attention. Our mutual friend, Don Miller, he always says one of the first things he'd do if you were starting a business is put an offer together. Get that offer together, one, to get a quick cash injection, but two, to learn what your audience really wants and needs. And the only way you do that is if you sell something. You'll know for sure. So you do not need a big list to get started. And again, the more you put out, let's say a workshop course or any kind of launch, your list starts to grow.
Yes. Another reason why I love this 1-hour workshop course idea is if someone isn't comfortable with selling, which I think is most of us, selling something that is a lower ticket item and a lower ask from both the time and money perspective is going to be a beautiful place to get your boots wet when it comes to selling something versus thinking, I'm just going to build this course behind the scenes and someday I'll launch it for $1,000. Like, this is such a great way to, again, get comfortable in saying, I have something that's valuable and here's what it costs as an investment to take part of it. But I think a lot of people in our audiences hate the idea of selling. And so again, they'll overcomplicate the steps that will delay them ever having to do that thing. And so again, I just like love this idea. I'm like,
no, it's really
imagining if there was like a Netflix of digital courses that were an hour long that people could watch. Like that would be
love it.
Such a dream. I mean, I think Masterclass already did that, but you know, I totally get it. Okay. So as we are kind of winding down, I want for you to make a case for online courses because I feel like there are so many people who have listened to us year after year after year. They've heard my success. They've heard your beginnings of your tiny launch. They've heard all of these different things, and yet they still have not taken action. Why is now the perfect time for them to create a digital course?
One thing that I've been hearing over and over again is that my community, they feel burned out. They're trying to do a million things at once. Nothing's really getting their full attention and nothing's really landing to make them the kind of revenue they want, but also give them the freedom. So a lot of us left a 9-to-5 to have more freedom. Now we feel more overwhelmed than ever because we're not really sure where we should focus or what we should be doing. So the beauty of a digital course, when you learn from someone like me or an expert that knows how to create and launch courses, and you get that step-by-step training, when you learn that, you can put together a beautiful course, a signature course. But here's the key. This is what I want you all to hear. The secret to how I teach courses and what I teach my students is that you only need one course to be insanely profitable and to give you more freedom in your life. One course. And why is that? Because I teach my students how to launch the course over and over again, whether it be through live launching or automated evergreen launching, but you're only creating it once. The problem with making money as an entrepreneur is when you don't make it, it's likely because you're always starting from scratch. You're always starting new. When you start new, it's money, time, and confusion, usually when you're starting anything new. So if you don't have to keep starting from scratch and you could use that one asset and launch it over and over again, you'll get really good at marketing, really good at launching, and you could tweak your course each time, but you never have to start from scratch again. I've been launching the same exact course since 2019. The version today is so much better than 2019, but it's still the same course in the sense of the bones of it. I've gotten really good at learning who my audience is, supporting them, showing up for them because I stay in my lane. One more thing. When you have a digital course that you launch over and over again, you become known for something. You become the name that people say when they say, I want to find out how to land my dream job. Boom, your name comes up because you've been doing it long enough. You've been the expert and you are the go-to person. And so if you were in a room of people that were building businesses and someone said, I want to start a digital course, but I don't know how. It's not my ego saying this. It's my experience in time. My name will always come up in that room. And it's because I stuck with this and continue to launch it over and over again. So if you want to cut through the noise online and be known for something, create a digital course.
I mean, I was just thinking when you were speaking, like I haven't created a new offer in over 5 years.
There you go.
And I am re-recording all the time. Right now, I'm literally recreating my entire podcasting course. But what's amazing is I think about having children and the last 5 years of my life being dedicated to being a mom. And that would only be possible because I haven't created anything new. I've only made what I already have better. And it's been such a gift. And I've talked about the ability to have a business that is rinse and repeat in a beautiful way because I know what to expect and I know how to do it and I know how to do it well. And that has been probably the greatest gift of my life. I couldn't be the type of mom that I want to be without having this type of business that has been afforded to not having shiny object syndrome and chasing a new idea every single year, but instead keeping my head down and making good, better, and better best over and over and over again.
Amen to that. You are such a great testament of it. I have so many students who actually have a masterclass coming up. And on the masterclass, I'm going to share multiple stories of what it looked like from a student to launch in the very beginning and then launch over and over and over again, what they did and what their success looks like. I think it's really inspiring and it's freeing to know you don't have to always be creating and starting over.
Yes, yes. Amy, real quick, we got to hang out together. It was so fun. And you got to be with the kids.
Oh my gosh.
And you had to tell them what you said at the end of the night because it was like the best moment ever. But for anyone listening, because a lot of my listeners can relate to this.
Yes. Okay. So as some of you know, I'm a stepmom. So I've never had a child of my own. And when Cade came into my life, he was 4, but we also had 3 of us that were, parenting Cade, and he was just really easy. However, I haven't ever had the experience of having 2 little toddlers and building a business at once. So I got to play with Coco and Quinny for all day on Saturday. Hobie and I had so much fun. And I have to say, Jenna has very special daughters. They're so incredibly just special. And so we had a wonderful day, but we put the kids to sleep. I got to read them books. It was really fun. We sat down and I looked at Jenna and I thought, oh my gosh, you are building a business while you have 2 toddlers in your house. We were going all day long, questions and playing and reading and all of that. If you can build a business and be a mom or dad at the same time, I salute you. I think that is the most honorable thing. And I just realized in person, holy cow, that's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was so sweet because I think that for so many of my listeners too, it's like whether it's children or a full-time job or a side hustle or different passions, we're all balancing so much, right?
Yeah.
And I think for so many people, a digital course sounds compelling and exciting, but they're like, where is there space for this? And what I will say is that the foundation that you can start laying today can reap you rewards for years to come. And I will never forget back when I was a wedding photographer and I was wanting to start a family thinking, this is not sustainable. Like I can't be gone every weekend and have children and be editing and planning my life 2 years in advance. Like this is not going to work. And I vowed to figure out a different way to do it. And I can now see that, yes, there is work required to get it going. But once you get it going, it is the most beautiful, life-giving, freedom-enriching journey. And you get to do what you love and watch it impact other people firsthand. You and I are, yeah, I mean, we could do a PR campaign for online courses for how well they've affected us and our lives. But it was just cute at the end of the night. Amy was like, I don't know how you have the type of business you have. Plus you're dancing in the kitchen and doing aerial performances and reading Berenstain Bears and all these things. And it was just sweet to have that moment because it is a lot, but it is like the best kind of lot. And life is so full, but it's full in the best ways. And I think so many people can relate to that.
So true. It was really fun to see. And it was a great reminder for me that I'm serving people that also have very full lives. And so if I can make it as easy as possible for them, I'm going to.
Well, let's real quick talk about your masterclass experience. You do something unlike anyone else that I've ever seen. I'm tempted to fly in just so I can be backstage with you. But you, once a year, you host these live masterclass experiences where you are walking through all of the different ways that digital courses can work for somebody, can change their lives, and sharing student success stories. Tell me just a little bit about what people can expect if they sign up for the masterclass experience, which you can do so at JennaPlusAmy.com. That's Jenna, Plus Amy.com. What is going to be happening?
Okay, I love that. JennaPlusAmy.com. That's fun. Okay, so every year, you're right. Once a year, I do this very special masterclass, totally free. And the goal is that I don't gatekeep what I know works. So there's no gatekeeping. I'm going to give you the creation and launching playbook. So you know exactly what it takes to get your course out into the world, whether you want a workshop course or a signature course or both, which I hope you want both. I'm going to dive into what it takes. I'm going to give you actual strategies. I'm going to show you behind the scenes, and I'm going to share some success stories of my students who might be in the exact same place you are right now. They were there as well, so you can see what's possible. It's my most favorite thing I do every year, and I would just love for you all to join me.
Awesome. So go to JennaPlusAmy.com. Save your seat. I am there in every single one in the chat, cheering my girl on. But I just also love to see how diverse our communities are and how many different areas our communities represent of different courses that they can create. Like I can just see the world changing with all the people in the chat who are chiming in where they're from and what they do and what they're an expert in, and imagining all the digital courses that can come out of it. So do not miss this masterclass experience. It is unlike anything else, and Amy over delivers. And you can also hear more about the Digital Course Academy, which we've been referencing throughout this episode. That course changed my life, changed my business. I will literally write the best testimonial in the world every single year. I am the walking testimonial of Amy Porterfield and what she teaches. And so just don't miss this chance. If this is something that you're even curious about, sign up at JennaPlusAmy.com. Amy, I love you. Thanks for coming back on the show. This is so fun. And now I'm just thinking about all the 1 hour workshop courses that my audience is going to create. I want everyone to DM and let us know what topic their 1 hour workshop course could be on.
Ooh, that's fun.
I want to know what that is, or comment on today's post on Gold Digger Podcast on Instagram. I want to know what we're going to be creating so that we can create our own little Netflix of digital courses online.
So fun. Absolutely. Thank you, my friend, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
This was such a fun episode, and I love this idea so much. I can just imagine the plethora of topics my audience could cover and the way that you could really get your feet wet in the online course world without a lot of risk, without a lot of time, and without a massive investment. I am obsessed. Amy is one of the best teachers I have ever encountered. She works tirelessly to make everything she puts out into the world actionable and tactical and filled with strategies that you can implement today. And the same goes for her masterclass experience. It is incredible. I literally watched every single one of them that she did last year. She has many different times you can sign up for. So go save your seat right now. I promise you this training could be that line in the sand where you look back and you say, this is where everything changed for me. Go to JennaPlusAmy.com jennaplusamy.com. Again, that's Jenna, Amy.com. Save your seats. I'll be hanging out in the chat, cheering you on and getting to know you guys. And I'm just so excited to see what you can create. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. What a joy it is to talk to my best friend on this show. Until next time, Goal Diggers, keep on digging your biggest goals. Thanks for pulling up a seat for another episode of the Goal Digger Podcast. I hope today's episode fueled you with inspiration, gave you information that you can turn into action, and realigned you with your true north in life and business. If you've enjoyed today's episode, head on over to goaldiggerpodcast.com for today's show notes, discount codes for our sponsors, freebies to fuel your results, and so much more. And if you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed so that you never miss a future show. We'll see you next time, Goal Diggers.
Please note, this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements, and individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in the episode. Your support through affiliate links or sponsored content helps us continue to bring you valuable content. Thank you for being a part of the Goal Digger community.